And being in a sensory deprivation tank, I kind of felt like 11 from Stranger Things, going in and being like, Will, where are you? Are you in the upside down? Or something like that. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or to it if this is the first time you are seeing my face. Thank you for clicking on it. My name is Jacy, and welcome to another episode of Dabbles and Babbles. In this new format of my videos, I will be babbling about a story time, a review, or an experience while dabbling in a craft. So today's babble is going to be about my recent experience in a sensory deprivation tank, aka float therapy. I'm going to go over what the heck this is, the claimed benefits, my own personal experience, as well as if I recommend it to you guys. Now, this will be part of my spiritual skeptic series that I have here on my channel, so make sure to check out the playlist. I'll link it down below. I debated whether or not to create a whole other series because I want to do more health and wellness videos. You know, I want to go get acupuncture or visit a chiropractor or get a vampire facial, but those things aren't necessarily spiritual. But I'm gonna keep it all under the umbrella because, I don't know, I'm come from a branding background and I need things to have names. But anything health and wellness as well as spiritual, I will keep under my spiritual skeptic series. And that's what I'll do with this video. However, spoiler, this float therapy ended up being a lot more spiritual than I expected. So make sure to stay till the end for those thoughts. And the hobby slash craft I will be dabbling in is candle making. I've actually done this video before, and I actually had to watch it right before this so I could follow the instructions to remember how to do this. I'll also leave that link down below if you want to go see one of my old school formats. That's just me farting around making candles. It's not a story time, but I don't know, I thought it was kind of funny. But there will be a tie-in with the candle making to my story time. It might be a punchline or some other way, but just wait. There's a point to all of this. So with that being said, let's get on to babbling about my experience with float therapy. So let's talk about what the heck float therapy slash sensory deprivation tanks are. So it's essentially where you go belly up in a pod that's filled with, I believe, over 1,000 pounds of Epsom salts. So you're essentially floating weightlessly in this bathtub that is skin temperature without light or sound. And the idea is that you are floating weightlessly in this void and just being alone with your own thoughts. And you're not really sure where your body ends and the water begins. That's at least what the internet said. So what is the difference between a sensory deprivation tank and float therapy? I tried looking this up because I kind of heard it used interchangeably. And basically the internet said that float therapy isn't depriving you of your senses, it's enhancing them. So it's not a deprivation tank, it's an enhancement tank. Which to me means it's the same thing. What I was able to find is that current scientific words refer to it as REST, R-E-S-T, meaning reduced environmental stimulus therapy. So they're reducing the senses, so that way you heighten your brain, in effect. Let me finish putting these wicks on. They got big wick energy. I could tell you got big wick energy. Energy. I don't know the lyrics clearly. So what are some of the pros of this float therapy sensory deprivation tank? I'm just gonna call it float therapy because that's shorter. Actually, there are a lot of claimed pros, and I'm just gonna read them because there are a lot. Float therapy reduces pain, improves sleep, reduces anxiety, eliminates hypertension, sharpens mental focus, encourages creative problem solving, drops cortisol levels, synchronizes the left and right brain, regenerates muscles and bones, improves athletic performance, accelerates muscle recovery, reduces headaches, and produces endorphins. And endorphins make you happy. And happy people don't kill their husbands. They just don't. Lots of claims there. So I wanted to try out this service because all of those claimed benefits sound great. I could reduce my stress levels and get some creative juices flowing. So I decided to try it. So I personally went to Pause Studio here in Los Angeles. They had great reviews. It looked beautiful and very clean. They also had lots of other spa services, which really intrigued me, which I might have to try some of those later, because as soon as I walked in and I'm walking through the hall, there were various types of services like light therapy. They had these personal sauna rooms, as well as IV drip rooms and other cute little comfy seating. So definitely a beautiful spa. I'll leave them linked down below if you're interested. But they walked me to my room, which was this dimly lit room with just a big ass pod inside that was also pretty well lit. Hang on, I gotta pour my soy balls real quick. I remember last video I made of this, I kept commenting how I just wanted to eat these. They look like little white chocolate balls, and when it melts, it looks like movie theater popcorn butter. But we're not gonna do that, ladies and gentlemen, because we're not elementary school kids eating Play-Doh. Oh, I didn't give an oven mitt. I'm always forgetting things. So the kind employee walks me through the process of how to use this big ass pod. He said that what I do is I disrobe, completely naked. I put in these putty earplugs, which was really cool because you can tell it's really gonna deprive you of your sense of hearing. Then I was supposed to rinse off in the shower off in the corner and then hop in the pod. He also pointed to a little jar of ointment pads in case I had any cuts, because he said it will sting, and I was like, nah, I'm good. And so he said, all right, enjoy. What the frick frack? Okay, this is a problem. No, let me just fix this now. Golly! So after the guy tells me that I'll need to disrobe and shower and then hop into the pod, I actually do it really quickly because I thought my hour session started as soon as he closed the door. So I quickly showered and hop into the pod, again, naked. And a nice Siri-like voice said, hello and welcome to your float therapy session. So that was nice that it didn't start until I actually got in the water. So pro tip if you try this. What I found nice was that there were also two big buttons for the light and the sound. So it was optional if you didn't want to fully deprive yourself of the senses. But I wanted to fully immerse myself in this experience. So I went no lights and no music. I closed the pod and it is very dark in there. There was a little strip of light where the pod doesn't like completely close, but when you close your eyes, it is very dark, it is very quiet, and you're alone with your own thoughts. And the best way I could describe it is that it truly felt like being in a coffin, but like a relaxing and calming coffin. Like as if you've almost died and Morgan Freeman is gently placing you into a casket and telling you you're about to go to heaven. It is very calming and relaxing, but there's that little hint of fear. The first thing I thought when I laid into the water was, ow. And that's because I ended up having a cut on my back that I didn't know about, and the guy was right that it was gonna sting like a bitch. So the water was pretty slimy on my belly, kind of like slug residue is the best way I could describe it with all that salt. The other thing I noticed was that my neck was kind of hurting because I had my hands on my stomach. And so I ended up putting my hands like above my head like this, and that balanced out my body a lot more, and I found that to be the most comfortable position that I could kind of drift off and stop focusing about my body. And that's when I noticed that you kind of lose track of where your body and the water ends. You truly are just one with the water. I will say though, there was the briefest moment of panic when you are alone in a sensory deprivation tank. However, I happen to meditate daily. I'm pretty good at meditating. And so I was able to quickly get control of my breath, calm down, and go to my happy place inside of my brain. Which actually I'll tell you a little bit about, because I talk to other people about what they think about when they meditate, and it's different, so I'd like to know your guys' thoughts. But how I meditate is I picture myself walking through a door and going into this room where I am introduced to future me. And so future me is like, hello, past Jacy, welcome. Here's what your life turns out to be. Welcome to my beautiful loft apartment with CB2 couches and a kitchen island. By the way, your career is interviewing people on the red carpets. And oh yeah, all of the BTS members know you by name. Pretty cool, right? Or something like that. And so I'm floating in this tank and I'm able to go to my happy place. But what happens next? surprised the heck out of me. Oh shoot, I forgot the flavor, or the scent, because candles with no scents make no sense. Scents. All right, I will now be using this Ashland essential oils in the scent lemon. Do I like lemon? No, but it was on clearance for $3. And that's good enough for me. So I don't quite know what happened in that tank, but I went to another dimension. I felt like I was floating in outer space, but in a dream, but as if a calming mother was warmly coddling me. I felt like a peacefully hallucinating astronaut is what I'm trying to say. Oh, that's lemony. That's lemony snicket, all right. Too much. The tension in my muscles melted, my body relaxed, but my brain was just in another world. And I think it's because you are floating weightlessly in this zero gravity tank, but in that state of half asleep, half awake, where your subconscious is still working and it still feels like your thoughts are going, but your body is just falling asleep, if that makes sense. And I know this is gonna sound hippy-dippy, but I do meditate regularly, and I've never gotten into this deep of a meditative state. And I think it's because when I meditate, I usually fall asleep. And so I think I kind of did fall asleep in this, but because my senses were enhanced, as they say, I wasn't fully asleep. So it was like my cognitive processes were still happening at the same time. I was feeling inspired, creative, optimistic, all while floating there. I don't know how that works. So I'm floating effortlessly, I'm in another dimension, and then time goes off. And I'm like, that's it? That was so fast. But an hour had passed by so quickly that I had no idea I had fallen asleep, and I had zero concept of time. So I sit up and I'm like, what the fuck was that internal journey that I just went on? I was not prepared for that. I stand up and I go to rinse off all of the salt off of my body, and I am groggy, I am confused, because I don't really know what just happened. And then I'm absolutely startled because this giant pot of water starts cleaning itself really loudly, and it made me jump, but good to know that they're very clean there. And so I leave, I go back into my car, and I am exhausted. I feel like I've never been more tired in my life, as if I got hit by a truck, but a relaxing truck, a relaxation truck, a truck full of Tempur-Pedic pillows, if you will. Are these similes doing it for you guys? You guys enjoying this? Let me know if you can do better, okay? I'm just having fun. I think they're funny. Moving on. So now let's talk about the after effects of this float therapy that I had. For one, I went home that night and I slept like a baby. Like I said, I was exhausted. More so, I don't even know if it was mentally or physically, but I was exhausted. Now, they claim that it improves your sleep. Did it improve my sleep for the upcoming week? Not necessarily. I still got tired throughout the day, but I also still had insomnia, but a lot of that has to do with my schedule. So I can't say that it improved my sleep overall, but it definitely did that night. I will say, again, the most surprising claim that they made is that it would invigorate you creatively? Oh, my cats. And it definitely did. I weirdly felt inspired and optimistic, and that's not something I expected from a spa service, because when I go to a spa, I usually go and get massages. I've had a pretty good handful of massages in my life, and it's always physically relaxing. You know, I want them to really get in there and knead out some of those muscles, and I want to feel the immediate relief in my body. I think that's kind of what I was expecting, but nothing in my body felt rejuvenated. It really was such a mental service, and I wasn't expecting that, you know? Yes, the tension released. Yes, my stress levels probably dropped, but all of that felt very temporary. However, all of the mental excitement and motivation that I had, I definitely carried that out through the rest of the week. But did float therapy synchronize my right and left brain? I don't know. I don't know what that feels like. Did it release endorphins and reduce stress? I guess, for like a hot minute. Did it recover my muscles so much that I now can perform at an Olympic level of swimming and beat Michael Phelps? I could do that before. I just didn't want to prove it to you guys, so that didn't affect anything. No, I mean, I felt relaxed, but I don't know if it did anything long-term for my muscles, for my bones, or for my brain. Now, do I recommend float therapy for you? Wouldn't you like to know? That's none of your beeswax. Beeswax! This is actually soybean wax, I think, which is healthier for you, but the joke still stands. The first con, or I guess warning or precaution, do not do float therapy if you are claustrophobic. You guys, you are literally enclosed in a pod, a dark pod. Your senses are gone. It's kind of scary if you are claustrophobic. Just don't do it. Don't do it if you think you're gonna be freaked out by enclosed spaces, because you're gonna be sitting in a pod for an hour. Don't recommend if you are claustrophobic. Do not, number 2, is do not do this if you don't meditate regularly. Like I said, I meditate all the time, so I was immediately calm and able to relax and go to my happy place. But if you don't meditate regularly, it might be kind of panicky at first, where you're like, okay, what do I think about? Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what's going on. Like, I'm scared. But on the other side, if you don't know how to meditate and go to that happy place, you might just be bored for an hour. And that's the worst punishment of all. It's like a torture chamber, sitting there alone with your thoughts for an hour. No, thank you. My recommendation is try to meditate a little bit, try to get into that space of being able to calm yourself down and take your mind elsewhere away from your surroundings before you try locking yourself in a pod with just your thoughts for 60 minutes. And the last con would be the price. This was $75 for an hour of floating. And that's a lot, considering for me personally, it didn't really make that many physical changes. You know, when I go get a massage, I immediately feel relaxed, albeit sore, but I can feel the impact that that made on my muscles, on my tension, and my overall muscle recovery. This was not for that. And I think massages in LA are also about $75 per hour, but I would recommend picking a service for what you need. If your neck is hurting, if you need to work out those kinks in your back, definitely use that $75 for a massage. But if you want to relax mentally, get a little bit more creatively invigorated, absolutely try float therapy. Now, would I recommend float therapy? Absolutely. Like I said, I kind of went in this blind. I didn't really know what to expect. And I was so surprised at how mentally invigorating this was compared to physically. It felt like Botox for the brain. Like I said, I went into this very deep meditative state, and it really quieted the chatter of all of the open tabs I have in my brain at all times and made me focus on one thing. And for me, that was my goals, my future, my ambitions. But that's because that's my happy place when I meditate. If your happy place is going to a meadow with singing birds and wonderful animals, I don't know, maybe in your float vision, you'll be Snow White for all I know. But I think my biggest surprise was that this really was more of a spiritual experience. Like I've mentioned in some of my other spiritual skeptic videos in the playlist below, that because it was a spiritual experience, you don't need it all the time because it's not like your body needs to physically recover. The way I would use float therapy is when you need it mentally, when you need to go into that deep meditative state and reflect on some of your problems or some questions you want answered. Like with palm reading or tarot card reading, I wouldn't do it unless I need some guidance regarding something in life. And that's how I felt with this float therapy. Again, because it didn't really do all that much to soothe my muscles or improve my recovery, that I won't do it again unless I feel like I need to go into that meditative state and kind of recenter myself and focus on my goals. So yes, I do recommend float therapy. It really was the perfect bathtub into getting you into a trance-like state and hypnotizing you to be inspired, recenter yourself, and possibly get those creative juices flowing. But if you think that spending $75 is just too much to float in a tank, then I recommend the old-fashioned way to relax, and that's just lighting a candle and reading a good book. But that's gonna be it for this video about me babbling of my float therapy session and dabbling in some candles. I will say they are a little citrusy for my autumnal season that is going on right now. Definitely more of a summer flavor. Scent. I always say flavor. I'm also mad because I got these jars from Goodwill recently, and they decided to put the price tag on the side instead of the bottom, and it ripped off this beautiful blue liner on these. So I guess those will have to be positioned in the back. I'll leave links below for the candle making kit and the hot place in case you want to dabble for yourself in candle making. I used all this equipment in that last video, and so I'm glad I got to pull it out of the closet and get some good use out of it. But that's gonna be it for this video. Definitely let me know in the comments below if you would try a sensory deprivation tank, or if you think you would get claustrophobic and panic and want to remove yourself after 10 seconds, or if you think it's just a gimmick and you wouldn't waste your money. I wanna hear your thoughts. But I thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Toodles! I actually had a friend once who took their date to go see the oldest lit candle in a church, but it didn't go well because it turns out you shouldn't take a new date to see an old flame. Dang, these are good.